Okay, hey, we're excited to be here. I'm Klaus, and this is um, my colleague Sebastian, or also called Ranger. And we're two developers of a studio called Follow the Feathers from Vienna.
Thank you so much. Please tell us everything about the studio, and also we would love to hear who is part of the studio, what is the goal of the studio, what you're doing, and also, of course, the history of the studio. I think you have quite an interesting history.
You wanna answer this first, Ranger?
Yeah, I can start with my role. So I'm the technical artist on the team. That means I'm somewhere in between artist and programmer, and I do a lot of prototyping and level design together with Klaus.
Yeah. I'm Klaus. I'm a co-founder. We're 4 co-founders in this studio. So everyone has an equal right to decide things. And our studio is around since the beginning of 2018. And since then, we're working on our first big project called Weaving Tides. And our other 2 team members are called Ren or Verena, who is our creative director, and Michael, who is our programmer. And mainly, but we have a lot of other heads since we're only 4 people. So Michael also does a lot of the finances and also project management. Ren takes care of marketing, and I do also project management. And Ranger is like the connection between art and programming, which is also very important.
So, how did you come up with this idea of founding the studio?
I think so. We met in university a couple of years ago. I think it's been 5-6 years ago, where we were a little bit bigger group, and we just had fun developing our first game project. And then that was during our bachelor's degree. And afterwards, we continued in the master's degree, and we stayed roughly in the same team. And we found out that it was going quite well and decided to keep going. And we were back then, not really sure how everything would work out, but the 4 of us worked together very well. And after the master's degree, we informed ourselves about what we could do to found our studio, and we luckily from the university in Salzburg, already knew a few indie devs from Vienna actually, and they helped us a lot. The folks from Lost in the Garden and also Broken Rules, and we went to them with our questions about founding a studio, and yeah, then we decided to give it a try.
Yeah, and deciding to give it a try meant that we rented an Airbnb flat in Vienna and we locked us in there for a few weeks and months. We made our business plan, we made a game prototype, and it was a really fun time.
Yeah, and after that, or during that time, we did our first prototype for Weaving Tides and also worked on our business plan for the whole company. And we applied to a governmental grant from the Vienna Business Agency, and we thankfully got it. And so with that, we could fully kick things off at the beginning of 2018. And since then, we're working full time on the game, like more than 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of that game, I mean, I think it's already pretty known, also thanks to this fantastic Kickstarter campaign. But please tell us
you.
everything about your game, the mechanics, maybe also what tools you're using, how you came up with the idea. We want to know everything.
Okay, so maybe I can tell the story of how Ren, our creative director, came up with the idea. So when she was taking a stroll through a forest, she saw the bark of a tree. And the bark of the tree reminded her of ocean waves. And she thought, what would be a world where everything is made up of cloth and woven and it moves like the ocean surface? And that's basically what she thought. And a few days later, she told us about this idea, and we were all like, we have to do this.
And the first time she had that idea was actually when we were still for the first time presenting our former student project, which was called Niva. So that was funny. It was like during a break of that presentation, the first idea for our next project sparked. But that was already 2 years before we started working on it full time. So we didn't revisit it for several months, but then it became more clear that this will be the thing we were going to do. And the game itself, it's a cozy adventure game set in a completely woven world, magical textile world, and you're riding on the back of a carpet dragon and stitch and sew the world together and wrap up your foes and solve textile puzzles and discover a mystical story about the world and its secrets.
Cool. I really love the concept. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
big next question. What about the future? Like, what are the future goals? And let me take it a step further. What is the big vision? What is the future vision as well?
The most important thing for our future is to release the game. The plan is to release it in early 2021. We're currently working on the port of the game for Nintendo Switch, so it will release on PC and Nintendo Switch, and we're very, very excited about that. So, have our game on Nintendo consoles. We're all very big Nintendo fans, and after that, we'll see. So, like, there's so much to plan until the release, which is rather close now already, but beyond that, there's much leeway. So the release will decide how things for us progress. The dream would be that the project makes enough money so that we can start with the next project, of course. But yeah, as an indie developer, you can't take that for certain, and there are many different options for us how we can continue, even if we can't raise the budget for another game already with this game. Yeah, but we will. Our thoughts are like focused about the release right now, and beyond that, it will be the next chapter. We will see.
Yeah, and if you are developing your own game, there is always a point where you have to stop creating new ideas and just finish what you're doing at the moment. So our list of possible ideas is really, really long compared to the list of the ideas that we were actually able to put into the game. So we have a lot of ideas.
So after the release, we might cry for a few weeks about all those ideas that couldn't make it into the game. Or we're happy enough to, if the release does well, to keep working on it and make a patch or a DLC for it. We'll see. That also depends on the release. So that's also a possibility to keep working on Weaving Tides a little longer. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Cool. You also started what you mentioned during the university developing games. I mean, do you have any tips or advices for young developers how to make the path?
There is so much.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to get into it or to see if it's something you might actually want to do for a living is to go to game jams and just take part in there, look for a team. So maybe if you don't know that much about game development or art or programming, you can just be part of a team and look what the others do, get help, and just create something awesome in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's true. So especially if you weren't lucky enough to already have found a team, then game jams are surely a very good thing. For us, we already knew what we like, how our team will look like, and for Weaving Tides, we also did a game jam like weekend where we tried to do a prototype within one weekend. It was also very important for the game. Yeah, but on a more holistic view of the whole development process, I think it's important to consider if it is worth it for you to have this creative freedom, but in return take on a lot of business tasks that you will have to do as a own studio, or especially as a small studio. Like, we are 4 people, and I mentioned it before that every one of us has a lot of hats. So there are many things that you need to do besides developing the game itself. And in our early days, we managed it like that. So we had days called project days and days called business days, and then we focused to do only that during that day. Otherwise, our business plan would have been like pushed towards the ends, because everyone wants to work on the project, of course. And so all the indie devs we knew from Vienna already told us, you need to have a business plan, and that was a very important suggestion.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing this. I have one more question, which might be a challenging one. So this year was a very challenging one and interesting one for pretty much all of us. How was the year for you? How did you cope with this year? And also, what did you learn for the next year? What are you looking forward for in the next year?
I think it has both advantages and disadvantages that we are a game studio, so we are quite independent from location on paper. If you think about it, we just need a computer or a laptop, and we can make meetings via Discord and so on. And we are really good with computers, so it's not that much of a hassle for us. But on the other side, meetings take longer, and it's just not that easy to ask somebody something if you're not in the same room. So I guess everybody can think of that.
And in general, this year felt very short to me.
Yeah.
Like it started with us doing our Kickstarter preparations, and then the whole pandemic started. But because of the Kickstarter, we didn't like we actually postponed our Kickstarter campaign because of the pandemic. But in the same on the same another outcome of it was that we didn't really feel it as hard as other people, I think, maybe because it was a very stressful time to do the Kickstarter, and all our thoughts were focused on the Kickstarter. And then it was suddenly summer, and then also while you're working on such a long project that takes longer than 2 years, time is just rushing by. So I can't believe it that it's almost Christmas already. Yeah. But apart from that, I really miss gaming events. Ranger and I actually traveled to Gamescom last year, which was amazing to be there in real life, in person. And yeah, I missed it a lot to meet other developers from all around the world, because the indie dev community is really full of so many nice people.
Yeah, and the online event was really nothing compared to the real Gamescom last
But
year.
it was cool as well. It
was a lot of
nice.
stress, but it was so cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing everything, and really fingers crossed for the release pretty soon. I'm really looking forward to play it also on the Nintendo Switch.
Thanks.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the interview.
Yeah, thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
Bye.
Bye.